In the deep villages of Chonyi, Kilifi County, Kenya, Robert Kombe wakes up at 6 a.m. to start his hustle, palm wine tapping. A few kilometers away, Jackson and Carissa are out setting their boats to fish. They will fight very strong waves, chasing fish, and praying their nets don't come back empty or with some rocks. Life is very difficult here in the coast of Kenya, and one has to work very hard to survive. Welcome to The Real Hustle. Our story begins with a young man with determination, Titus Charo, a man on a mission with one very serious knife. He is sharpening his knife using simple tools, as he doesn't have a toolbox. He doesn't have a backup plan, just one knife that he treats better than his wife. Titus has been a palm wine tapper for 2 years, and he has been able to raise enough money to get married, and he lives in a small hut. Like many men in this village, his office is not an office, it's the palm tree. He literally goes to work by climbing. And this is not small climbing, this is that kind of climbing that if you sleep, you meet your ancestors. Every morning, Titus wakes up, grabs the knife, looks at the tree like today again we fight, and starts the journey up. When he reaches the top, he carefully cuts the tip of the palm. By midday, he is back again, another climb, another fresh cut, checking if the tree is behaving well. Then in the evening, the final round, same tree, same mission, with no complaints. For Titus and many other young men in this village, this is not just work, this is survival, routine, and a skill that has been passed from parents and parents. Back in the villages of Chonyi, the sun is now high and the heat is unforgiving. But for Robert Kombe, the day is far from over. High above the ground, balanced on tall palm tree, Robert makes his midday climb. This time, the final collection before the rider arrives to take the wine to the market.
Mix fresh na hiyo kilalo.
Mzee Kombe explains, this is our traditional wine. In our culture, we use it to welcome visitors. Before you drink it, you must first pour a little on the ground to honor and appease our ancestors. He speaks a few traditional words. Our ancestors come and join us. Be with us as we drink this wine. Protect us and bless this moment. What are you holding? This is called a boko. Inside is the wine. The wine comes straight from the tree, so nothing is added. It is pure, just as it is given by the gods. If you add water, you spoil it. This is not our way. We do not add water to this wine. This is our tradition.
Lakini ukipata ya mnazi kamili, utapata kachungu tu peke yake ndani ya hiyo pombe ya mnazi ambayo haina hata tone la maji. Kuna kilalo cha maji na kuna kilalo cha pombe yenyewe special kutoka juu ya mnazi. Ndio pombe yetu ambayo tunaitumia huku kwetu. Hata kwa ndamba kivyala lazima hii kuna hasa haja yoyote ya kwehu. Musiba ni haja ni mafa hii ndio unahumira.
In this quiet village of Chonyi, The palm tree has always been more than just part of the landscape. It is life itself. For generations, families have depended on palm wine as their main source of income, food, and identity. But today, what scares Mzee Kombe is that that way of life is under threat. Population is increasing, and more land is needed for settlement. And therefore, the palm trees are being cut down at an alarming rate. Mzee Kombe says what was once a symbol of sustainability is slowly disappearing, replaced by short-term needs that ignore long-term value of the palm tree. Many young people in this village, driven by immediate survival or lack of awareness, no longer see the importance of preserving these trees or continuing with the tradition of tapping palm wine.
Wakati wote ikiwa na ndani ya mshipa mara nyingine pia humwaffect.
Sasa kuna ushaionja pombe nyingine ambayo si mnazi kama zile za dukani za kununuliwa?
Zile za kununuliwa, unajua mimi kusema kweli kule kwa maduka wanatumia bia.
Unatumia bia? Unaweza tofautisha kati ya mnazi na zile bia?
Mimi nachukua mnazi kwa sababu hiyo ndio kikwetu, na tena isitoshe hiyo ukipiga chupa mbili tayari ushapata stimu, lakini bia ni ukunywe kesi moja ama zaidi ndio upate stimu. Sasa huwa iko tofauti kubwa sana.
Sasa kuna ambao wewe unapenda kilalo ama unapenda fresh?
Mimi kwa sababu mimi ni mchonyo rich. Ikija kilalo kwangu ni sawa, ikipata fresh pia ni sawa. Lakini fresh sana huenda kwa watoto wadogo kama hawa wanawapatia kama kikombe ile inakuwa inajenga mwili.
Wewe kwa ujana wako umefanya kazi gani wewe?
Ujana wangu mimi nimefanya kazi ya wiring.
Alafu pia umekuwa mgema?
Nimekuwa mgema. Lakini baada ya ugema nikaachana nayo kwanza. Nikaenda kwa college ya wiring.
Sasa hii minazi imekatwa kwa wingi na pia serikali inapigana sana na hii pombe yetu ya Mijikenda. Unaweza semaje, kwanza tuanzie hapo kwa minazi kukatwa?
The government is coming up with policies and regulations that are often designed without fully understanding the local culture. This has made it hard for the palm wine tappers to operate freely. Instead of being supported, many feel restricted and overlooked. Yet the palm wine economy remains the backbone of these communities. It provides livelihood, sustaining families, and preserving the culture of these people. Without proper support and education and government protection, this tradition is at risk. It is fading away. What these communities need is not limitation, but empowerment.
Kuna hii mambo na serikali kusema hii pombe si halali, ni haramu. Unaweza semaje wewe kule
pombe yetu haina uharamu? Kwa sababu
policies must be put in place to recognize their way of life and help them grow and thrive and pass this knowledge to the future generations.
Sasa atakayekisema yeye ni haramu ni yule aliyekinunua na kakiweka maji, ndio imekuwa ni haramu. Kitaka kunywa mnazi ukupe shida ni uwe umeweka maji. Ukinywa mnazi ambao umewekwa maji lazima utakuwa na kasoro, hasa kwanza kwenye mtu mwenye mshipa, hata mara nyingine unaweza kusikia ameshakufa mwenyewe.
Sasa unaweza ambia vijana ama watu ambao ambao tunakuwa sahihi kwa generation ya sahihi, unaweza waambia umuhimu ya kutunza hii minazi, umuhimu ya kutunza mazingira yetu?
Yawezekana. Yawezekana ni yule atakayekusikia, kwa sababu kuna wale wengine utamwambia atakwambia hii mali ni yangu, si yako, na wala usiniingilie ujuzi wangu. Unaona? Sasa mtu akikwambia kama vile unamuacha, atakayekuelewa ataelewa.
Kwa hii kazi ya ugema changamoto kubwa zaidi ni ipi?
Ni changamoto ya ugema mara nyingi ni ile ina ugumu.
Ugumu wa nini?
Ile kupanda kushuka mara 3
kwa usiku.
Yaani asubuhi, mchana na jioni.
Na jioni. Alafu sasa na soko, yani malapepo wapeleka.
Soko kuna mteja huwa anakuja, anachukua na anapeleka.
Na kuna ile wakati wa ambao minazi yani tembo inauzwa kwa wingi na inauzwa kwa kidogo, yani ile seasonal.
Unachukua leo ameenda kuuza, ameenda kesho hata rudi, wewe bado unabaki nayo.
Ukibaki nayo sasa hiyo ni hasara.
Ni hasara kwa sababu kwa sasa umelala nayo na tena kuna nyingine inakuja. Sasa inabidi sasa ni ile itoke. Bila kutoka sasa unakuta mnakunywa wenyewe. Unaona na ikusaidii kwa kipato.
Sasa na sasa bei ukilinganisha na kitambo imepanda ama utasemaje?
Sasa hii imeanza
kushoot sasa. Kama kwa lita mnauza pesa ngapi? 50 bob kwa lita.
Kwa majina naitwa Kombenzai. Mimi ni mzaliwa wa Silala East. Nikiwa hapa nilipo niko nyumbani. Tukiangalia mambo na mnazi huku Chonyi sana tumebezi ndani ya mnazi kwa sababu mnazi ndio uchumi wetu. Toka kina babu walikuwa kigema, sisi tuwaona tu dunia. Kina babu walikuwa ni wagema, wanagema pombe, wanauzia kina mama wanauza kwa mahaja. Sasa hii wamegeuza biashara zao, wanachukua na pikipiki wakipeleka Mombasa, na hizo biashara zimekuwa pia ndio uchumi wetu hapa pwani, kwa sababu sisi hatuna uchumi wote tumetegemea ni mnazi tu peke yake. Bila mnazi hakuna lolote tuweza fanya, kwa sababu mnazi ndio umetufanya sisi pia tukapata hata kusoma. Wengine wamesoma African University kwa sababu ya mnazi. Kina baba zamani walikuwa hakusoma kwa sababu elimu ilikuja, na walipokuja wengi walikataa kusoma. Na jinsi walivyoangalia mambo na mnazi, wakagema na wakasomesha watoto wao waliokuwa bado wanaofahamu wa kusomesha watoto wao. Kwa hivyo mnazi uko na faida hapa kwetu pwani, hasa Chonyi. Kipaumbele chetu ni mnazi, hakuna uchumi mwingine tumetegemea, ni mnazi tu peke yake. Pombe ya mnazi hasa huku kwetu Chonyi, mnazi serikali sisi tumetegemea tu mnazi. Manake tukiacha mnazi hakuna biashara yote wala uchumi wote tuweza fanya hapa kwetu pwani, wala watoto pia hawezi soma bila kugema. Watoto wengi wanasoma kwa sababu wazazi wao ni wagema, hawana kazi yoyote. Kwa hivyo tunaomba tu serikali tuachilie huru mnazi wetu ili tuendelee na uchumi wetu kama tulivyoachiwa na kina babu. Na hata vijana wetu wengi ambao hawana kazi ni wanatumia tu kugema na wanapata uchumi wao. Kwa hivyo mnazi ni kitu muhimu sana hapa kwetu Chonyi. Tunaomba serikali tuachie huru kusudi sisi pia tupate kuendelea na kufundisha watoto wetu.
A few kilometers away from the village of Chonyi, another story of survival begins, this time on water. E.S. Jackson, a 51-year-old fisherman, alongside his captain Karisa. They prepare to set to the ocean. It's exactly 6 in the morning. The sun is just rising and the air is calm. And today, the weather has given them a chance. With hope, they push the boat into the vast Indian Ocean in search of fish and in search of a living. For generations, this ocean has been more than just water. It has been food, employment, and a life for many families along the coast of Kenya. Jackson explains that their day starts early, before 6 a.m. They must already be on their way to the fishing grounds. There are too many reasons for this. First, and the most critical reason is that early morning the water levels near the shore is high enough to carry their boat. As the day progresses, the tides goes out and the shoreline is left almost dry. If they delay, they risk dragging the heavy boat across the sand, a job that they don't want to do before breakfast. The second reason why they wake up early is fish themselves follow a schedule. Early in the morning is feeding time. Fish are more active and moving closer to the surface in search of food in the morning, making it the best time to catch them. Once at the sea, Jackson and his colleague head toward the deeper waters, guided not by maps but by experience and instinct. They cast their net carefully, leaving small markers behind, because out here many fishermen are working hard, and one wrong move can mean lost nets or lost patience. After setting their nets, they go to check the ones they had left in the ocean the previous night. This is the moment of truth. Sometimes the net comes heavy with fish, and sometimes just with seaweed and rocks. Whatever they catch, they bring back to the shore, where women are already waiting to take them, to buy and take to the market. These women are also as hardworking. They take the fish to the local markets and keep the circle of trade and survival moving. For Jackson, this is not just fishing, it's routine, it's risk, and it's resilience, played out every single day on the open sea. Jackson explains that there are many times when the net gets so badly stuck in the ocean, it even becomes impossible to pull it out. And in those moments, they have no choice but to leave it behind. Just like that. A whole fishing net lost deep in the ocean. It's worrying. It's a worrying thought because that net doesn't just disappear. It stays down there, drifting or trapped. It puts countless sea creatures at risk. But for Jackson, that is not his concern. His immediate worry is very simple. How much will he hunt today? Well, with efforts and patience, they finally manage to pull the net up. That is the moment of silence, anticipation, and reality hits. The net is almost empty. Just a few rocks, a small fish, a stockfish. Here comes our first catch. However, Jackson is shaking his head with disappointment. This fish, he explains, it cannot be solid. The market women won't take it because they don't sell it. So instead of profit, I think Jackson will take this home for food. After all the efforts the ocean has given them, just enough to eat, but not enough to earn.
Na inaweza kuwa ni nini like inaweza kuwa juu kitambo watu wanasema samaki ilikuwa according to me zile inabadilika ni ya climate nini inafanya pia nyama nao wanatembea mbali ama inaweza kuwa wavuvi wamekuwa wengi pia hatuwezi maliza hii bahari yote na samaki kama wavuvi ni wengi so climate change pia nao wanatokea hawa na inapata unafanya samaki hawazaadi pia.
Pulling the net is not an easy task. The net is heavy, stubborn, and every pull feels like a battle. Sometimes you start to feel that weight and think today is the day. This one is full of fish. But the ocean has its own jokes. What feels like big catch can turn out to be a net stuck deep on rocks below, refusing to move.
Basi ningeacha hii tena tu malili tu.
Mpaka tuisort out.
Back in the villages of Chonyi, the sun is now high, and the heat is unforgiving. But for Robert Kombe, the day is far from over. High above the ground, balanced on tall palm tree, Robert makes his midday climb. This time, the final collection before the rider arrives to take the wine to the market. This is our job, he says in a steady calm. Just like another job, this is what we use to feed our families. It is all we depend on. This one, I left this container up here 5 days ago. It has collected enough, I think. Now I will go and transfer it to another container and leave it up there to continue collecting the wine. With practice and skill, he unties the container and begins pouring the fresh palm wine into a large container. His movements are careful, almost protective. Up here I have to make sure that I close it tightly, because if I don't, bees will get inside, and when they get, they hit the wine to make the honey.
Hakuna vile unapata pombe, nyuki wanakula hiyo pombe wanafanya asali.
Okay.
Sasa unakaza vizuri ili wasipate nafasi kabisa kuingia ndani.
Now this is fresh wine. It's very sweet.
Fresh.
Very, very sweet.
Very sweet.
Kabisa.
The wine.
Yeah.
Sawa.
Hii basi iko tamu kabisa. Hata ukitest hiyo yenyewe. Utajua iko na utamu.
Very sweet.
Yeah. Una sukari yote. Hiyo ni kilalo fresh. Sawa. No, babu pia alikuwa anafanya hiyo kazi.
My work depends on this tree. If I take care of it, it takes care of me. Every day I climb, every day I harvest, and whatever I get, that is what my family will eat. Someday I get good money out of it, and someday I get completely nothing. But that is how life is. We all know that life is difficult. After a very long wait, the rider finally arrives. It has been a long day for the rider, going up and down through the villages, collecting palm wine from each tapper. And now this is Robert, Kombe, and Titus' time. One by one, the tappers bring out their containers. Each sells their wine to him, trusting that he will carry it to the next stage of its journey. This is how the chain moves. The tappers harvest the wine, and then the rider comes collecting the wine from each wine tapper. And now then the rider transports the wine through the mountains to the town of Mombasa, Kilifi, where it will be finally sold.
Mambo poa. Hello? Rasta. Anajira nao bendi pande. Bado sidenchira na nyuma na hala bendi ndo chenjira chombola haya kale ni nyere kwa fresh.
Wanasikia rege.
Ndio tasonga inga. Alafu rasta bana fresh nayo pia mwengo kaika. Sawa. Wah.
njoo hapa bonbole ya kitu gani? Twende ukamsaidie huko.
The rider pulls up on his old Bajaj Boxer, a motorbike that looks like it has survived everything life could throw at it. Bad roads, heavy loads, and probably a few arguments along the way. The engine growls, the frames shakes, but somehow it keeps going over years.
Nzuri. 85. Hayo chana vipi wewe?
Hapo ndani ya Shimala chana nini?
Hayo kirania.
Once his bike is full, he finally hits the road, heading towards the market. This is where the palm wine will find its place in the local bars known as Mangwe, where stories grow, laughter gets louder, and the one cup is never enough. From tree to the bike to the market, this journey of a palm wine is really interesting. With ropes and balance, the only experience can teach, he loads the container carefully onto the bike. Then off he goes, dust rising behind him as he moves from one home to another, collecting more wine. My name is Enoch Mwatsuma, and this is my job. I am a wine tapper, and I do wine collection. I have been doing this for 2 years, and it is what that feeds me and my family. I am thankful for this job because my boss pays me about 1,000 Kenya shillings a day. It may be not too much to some people, but it is enough for us to survive.
Naomba Mungu Mombasa. Kwa hivyo hii kazi nashukuru, niko na miaka 3 na hii kazi. Hii kazi inalipa jamani.
Even though we face many challenges, for example, when it rains here, these roads become impassable. You cannot pass. The mud traps the motorbike, and sometimes you are forced to stop working completely. And when I finally get to town, that is another problem. Police officers are always on our necks, asking for bribes. Even when you try to explain to them, they don't listen. In the end, they take what I have earned for the whole day. But what can I do? That is how life is here.
Tunateseka kabisa, yani hata tujua tufanyeje. Wabunge wetu tuko nao, lakini barabara zetu wanajua sisi huku Chonyi kazi yetu ni ya minazi, kwa sababu sisi tunalelea familia zetu kwa sababu ya hii pombe. Na changamoto nyingine ni ile wakati wa mvua huku Mombasa, mkikuona tumefika huku Mombasa, jua sisi tumepitia mengi, kwa sababu kupanda ule mnazi mpaka kutoa ule pombe kule juu huwa ni hatia, kwa sababu mnazi huwa wateleza. Kwa hivyo nawaomba,
all I ask now is for our leaders to help us, because we have leaders and they don't come to the ground to offer any help. They should construct better roads in this area and make laws that recognize this business so that our wine can be legal and stop having these problems with the police. Out in the waters of the Indian Ocean, luck finally turns for Jackson and Carissa. The net they cast earlier this morning, fresh, hopeful and well-placed, has performed much better than the net that spent the whole night in the ocean. This time, as they pull it in, there is real weight, the good kind of weight. Inside, they find garfish. Jackson's face lights up. This is good catch. He explains that the market women love this type of fish. It is long, and that makes it more profitable. When they take it to the market, they cut it into several pieces, and each piece sells separately, sometimes around $1 or 100 Kenya shillings per cut. In the end, they make much more from one fish. But for Jackson and Carissa, things work differently. They sell the whole fish to the women at a lower price, maybe about 300 Kenya shillings. It is quicker, easy, and guarantees them immediate cash. Still, after a slow start, this catch feels like small victory. Out here, one good net can change the whole day. Deep in the sea, far from land, the net pulls all kinds of waste. Plastic threads, polythene bags, plastic bottles, even pieces of old nylon nets. It is shocking. This is not where these things belong, yet they are here. It makes us stop and think, how do these things travel all the way from land into this deep part of the ocean? These materials are dangerous. Fish can get trapped in, injured, or even die from them, and yet they are in the ocean. The same ocean that feeds families, supports livelihoods, and shelters countless aquatic lives is slowly being polluted by human carelessness. If action is not taken, then it becomes a very real issue that needs to be discussed. It becomes everyone's responsibility to think differently, dispose of water properly, avoid carelessness, avoid careless littering, because somehow, somewhere, the plastic bottle you throw away without thinking may end up here, turning into silent threat. And in places like coastal Kenya, harming the ocean is not just harming fish, it's harming entire communities whose lives depend on it.
Ndio kuna pale pengine tuliishi.
Tunaanza tena.
Kama mmechoka.
Ah.
Tuko hapa ni baada tu bila kufanya.
Haya.
Mtaharakisha kwa.
Pale pale. Tunataka kupitia tena, kupitia pale. Pale pale.
Badala ya kufanya kwa.
Sio ndio unaweza ikachakula samaki anakuja mwenyewe.
Bahari ni safi.
Uchafu sasa yote inatoka huko inarudishwa huko. Sababu maji inapata, maji inaisha.
Sasa nafasi songe mbele.
Kuna moja ambayo unaona itakupatia nini haraka haraka.
For their third attempt, Jackson and Carissa try something different. They take a simple wooden rod and start striking the surface of the water. Tha! 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 Jackson explains that the sound travels through the water, causing fish to panic and swim towards the disturbance, and in the process, they can run straight into the net. It's a clever trick. It's old knowledge that Jackson has tried and tested over time, and it works. But this time, it didn't work. There's nothing. No fish. Instead, what comes up is something else, something far more troubling. Plastic. As Enoch Mwasuma makes his final trip carrying the palm wine from the deep villages of Chonyi, and as Jackson brings his boat back to the shore carefully sorting the net for the next day, one thing becomes clear. This is how small communities in the coastal Kenya survive, through hard work, resilience, and sheer commitment. But beneath this strength, there is fear. Environmental degradation, rising population, and human activities are slowly shaking these traditional economic systems. For Mzee and his family, the war is real. What happens in the near future when population grows, when land expands, and palm trees disappear? In a place where life depends almost entirely on palm tree for food, for income and shelter, or even medicine, the loss of these trees is not just environmental, it is existential. Out at the sea, Jackson and Carissa face a different reality, but equally heavy uncertainty. The fish are no longer as plenty as before. Overfishing, population, and changing ocean conditions are threatening marine life. Some days, their nets come back with nothing but stones, and that is frightening. It's a frightening reality for men whose survival depends on the ocean. Two different worlds, land and sea, but one shared truth. The future of these communities hangs in the balance.